YouTube, Carco here. Hey, a good buddy of mine, Serlix, suggested that I make a video discussing kind of the differences between Oort Online and Minecraft. It's an important concept to go over because the top comment on usually like every news website discussing Oort Online is always, this looks like Minecraft. But the two games are very different on a very fundamental level, not only in what they're trying to achieve, but what the player actually does and experience as they play the game. So I thought it would be worth taking the time to discuss. The main difference between the two games is there is a progression. In Minecraft, it's more like a framework than a game. There aren't defined goals, and that's intentional. They wanted it to be an open-ended framework versus defining exactly what you're supposed to do. But most of what that's turned into is that in multiplayer, most of the games you play are designed by some third party, and that's cool. And a lot of them are my favorite. But overall, there's no connecting overarching theme of what you're supposed to do in the game. And that kind of left a lot of people wanting. They said, hey, I would like there to be progression in the game, or I would like there to be a defined purpose to what I'm doing. And so that's what Oort Online kind of wanted to achieve, was a purpose to playing the game. Like, why are you in this world of voxels? Why do you even care that all these boxes are here and you're doing stuff with them? So there is actually going to be a progression in terms of armor, weapons, growth in your character's strength, what you can do, where you can go, and what you find. So that's kind of the main difference, is there is an objective. The other thing is that really big, but a lot of people miss this, Oort Online is one big connected universe. So in Minecraft, you have a series of small servers, okay? They have, varying amounts of players on them. A larger one would be 60. I've seen ones with thousands of players supported on them with some really great hardware. But fundamentally, the game is designed to be in little pods, almost like little islands. And you can go between these different islands by connecting to another IP address, but your items and your character does not transfer between the two. You start a new character when you go to another server in that environment. Now, that'll let you to sightsee, but a lot of people said, I want to be able to sightsee and keep all my items, meaning I don't start from scratch. I'm not just hitting reset and time to start chopping down wood. I want to have this great armor set that I built, that I've progressed playing through this game with my friends, and be able to go explore other places and fight other monsters with the same gear. And that's something that Oort really wanted to do. I mean, it's the difference between really an RPG and an MMO, is that you're connected and you can move between these connected worlds. The other thing is, a lot of people go, oh, well, there's gates. Well, I can go between Overworld and Nether, and that's not what's happening. This would be the difference between going between Legendary Craft and a faction server. I mean, these are completely different, not only worlds in terms of what they've generated, but these are completely different servers you're moving between transparently. And as a player, you don't perceive that, but you just run across these portals that look like this in-game. But you see them, and what you're seeing on the opposite side is real-time rendering. And so as you walk through this gateway, I've just now cut across a different server. This server could be on the opposite side of the world. There's some that are hosted in Australia, some that are in the US, some that are in Europe. I've just crossed over instantly, and I can see in real time on what's going on the opposite side of this gateway in another world. And some of these, some of these servers on the opposite side of the world. So you just load in, and the idea here is that instead of going to the web and searching for cool stuff to find, you should be able to kind of organically find and explore things as you just walk around the world, as opposed to having to contrive it and search for it and dig around to find it on the web. You should be able to just walk around the game and find cool stuff that people have built that you've never seen before. And that's what Oort was really trying to achieve by going to an MMO, and that can only be done when you have database backend servers that tie your inventory together, front-end servers that host each of the individual worlds. And so by tying all of that together and defining a purpose, that's what really forges Oort into being an MMO. So the other thing is grappling hooks. That's another really large shift. The movement mechanics in this game are pretty dramatic. Let me show you what a grappling hook looks like currently. This is a Vine video the devs put out. You shoot the thing out, and you're swinging from tree to tree, and ultimately they should have hit that other tree and kept swinging. But you could keep going, and this is one of the many mechanisms of navigation in Oort. The other thing is this game has a real big physics push in it. There's like ice blocks that you can slide down and hit bouncy pads that will launch you up into the air. So there's some really neat physics and movement tricks, which if you're thinking about this game from like I am, there is going to be both PvP and PvE, and they will be clearly and safely delineated, so those that want to do one don't interfere with the other. But if you're looking at this from a PvP perspective, imagine a world that you've mapped out with ice blocks, bouncy blocks, and grappling hooks. You could traverse the terrain and own people that try and interfere or move into your territory with great ease. I mean, imagine slingshotting off some sort of chute down into your enemies, then grappling hooking off a tree, swinging around and chopping right into them. I mean, it opens the door to a lot of really fun possibilities that really just aren't even close to possible currently in MC. And it doesn't require a whole bunch of aftermarket modification. This will be the way the game works out of the box for everybody. So you don't need to learn how to go in and start modifying the program to enjoy these kinds of things. And so that opens them up to a much wider audience. So that's a really great thing. There's also going to be a lot bigger variety of melee weapons in the game. Let me see. Here's some of them. You've got axes and swords, but you're also going to have things like spears, swords, scythes, the kind of weapons, things like a falchion, things you would typically see in an MMO or another kind of more developed game environment. The other thing you'd have is more increased variety of ranged weapons. There's going to be like magical staffs, bows and arrows. You may hold a book and it shoots magic out of it. Magic's going to be a big part of the game for weaponry. Who knows, maybe you summon lightning or something like that and execute somebody. There's a much larger shift towards kind of a magically themed or fantasy-oriented themed environment in Oort. So that's kind of a pretty big difference in terms of it. Crafting is also pretty different. They've briefly discussed the conceptual overview of what they want to do. Their emphasis on crafting is not to try and make things that, you don't use spatial placement like in Minecraft to craft items. If you have the items, it'll appear as an option to output and produce, so you're not going to be digging through a wiki to try and figure out, oh, what can I produce, what do I need? They want that to try and be in-game. And then on top of that, the other thing is that there's going to be some sort of bonus modifier. Like if you have some sort of extra item that you can add to the standard recipe that to produce an item, you would have the option of including some sort of bonus modifier based on things that you find in the world, either as loot or mined, that will modify the way the weapon behaves or what it does to add a certain degree of variation to it. These could be things like increased damage, increased durability. Other options are they may have magical properties, they allow you to do unique things in the world. There's quite a few different options available in the crafting system. So that's a pretty big shift from fundamentally like trying to place blocks in the 9-block configuration and outputting items. The portals will take your entire inventory with you. I can't stress this enough, that you're crossing between servers, and when you cross over, your inventory goes with you. Your armor stays the same. You are the same character. You are not starting over on a different server. You've crossed between servers, and your inventory goes with you. That's why it requires back-end database, and for those of you wondering, that's why they have to charge for server hosting, because an MMO infrastructure costs a lot of money to maintain and operate. So the only way we can get these type of connected worlds is if we pay a little bit more for private servers. They'll cover the public ones based off, the sales of the game. But if you want more and you want to have your own custom world and change it up, that's why tying it into a connected system requires a certain degree of infrastructure, and of course infrastructure requires money one way or another. So the cool thing is they figured out how to shift the cost away from the main players and onto the power players. The only people that are really paying any kind of ongoing cost is not you through a subscription fee, it's the people that are hosting private servers to help grow the size of Oort, but that also allows people that don't have money to experience all the variety of all the different private worlds. It's kind of like the best of pay-to-play with the best of free-to-play synthesized together into a solution that really benefits everybody. So that's what's really great. And let's see, what else is temples. Okay, this is something they're very actively developing on right now. They want to get this out because this is such a popular feature. Okay, when you go into Oort, they want to have temples that randomly generate in the worlds, kind of a pre-selected group of these things, and you would go to them and you would go exploring through, and they're going to have mobs in them. These are kind of almost like events or mini raids where you're going to battle through a series of NPCs, working your way through the temple to get to ultimately wherever the loot is. And that would be kind of the end goal. There may even be like maybe a mini boss or something towards the end of it that you have to battle to finally get the chest that's going to have the goodies in it. They have different concepts for different types of temples, and all of these would drop into the world. Actually, one of the updates they just pushed right now had to do with laying the groundwork for these temples that they're working on right now. So that's really exciting. This is a lot more like grinding your way through a temple to get loot. Is a lot closer to something like EQ or WoW than it really is like Minecraft, because they had temples in Minecraft, but their temples like had booby traps, and that was it. This is like you battle a series of largely predefined monsters that are going to generate inside here to get to the chest at the end to finally get it. And that's kind of, I think, going to be the crux of a lot of the PvE driving force in the game will be around these temples. Then there's also another thing, which is the Titans. Let me pull up a photo of one of these. This is like the concept art of what the Titan would be. These are players that are battling them. There are some NPCs down here near the players, but the main thing is the Titan in the background they're trying to kill. These would be like these giant hulking monsters that are kind of roaming around the landscape, and in theory, they said you might be able to kill them by yourself, but it'd be really hard. It's probably more designed that you would have a group of people, that you would go with your friends to try and bring one of these things down. I'm sure they're going to have a boatload of HP. They're going to be heavy damage dealers, probably slow moving to some extent. They're kind of the equivalent of like bosses in the game that you would want to go find, bring down, and I don't know, but I'm sure there's going to be, they're going to spit out a bunch of goodies when you drop them. So that's really kind of another big thing that's really kind of radically different. And so overall, you can see like the direction of what they're trying to do with the game is fundamentally different. Yes, it's blocks. Yes, you build with the blocks. Yes, you can craft with the blocks. But what you ultimately experience as a player is fundamentally different in terms of the direction and what they're trying to achieve with the game. So anyways, I hope this guy helped you guys out, and stay tuned for more awesome. Follow me on Twitter. Thanks.